Welcome to another cooking adventure. Today we're going to be making Erbswurst in the BCB Crusader Cookset. I know what you're thinking, what is Erbswurst? It's a sausage that's not a sausage. I'll explain a little more about that as we go along. But first, the BCB cooker. If you're new to your outdoor cooking and bushcraft and whatever else, you really can't go wrong with this little set. And the other great thing about it is, with the stability of this, you can also put a frying pan on top. And so take a frying pan with you and it will cater for all of your needs. I need to cut some veg. So to do that, I'm going to use my new cutting board. It's made of titanium. This was gifted to me by somebody, so thanks Matt. I'm going to use that on my travels. Erbswurst, from the bit of digging around that I've done on the internet. It was created by the Germans back in the 1870s. Although I suspect this is a sort of thing that's gone on over millennia. Come back, carrots. So your German soldier, he'd carry around a little bit of vegetable and also some Erbswurst, which I'll show you in a second. The water's about to boil over, so I need to do this quickly. Just got a rough old carrot, cut the end off. One thing about this titanium, I was wondering how much it would blunt me knife, so that's a consideration. It's supposed to be softer than steel, so in theory it shouldn't blunt your knife too much. I step back then and I've got a new friend. Wherever I go, little dogs arrive. What we're making in effect is a stew. And the Erbswurst is going to be the thickener for it. So it's going to act as a stock cube. I've got a bit of pre-cooked sausage here which I've got out of the fridge. So that's all going to go in together. And I'll bring him back up to the boil. I forgot how hot these handles get on here. Always take a glove. Now I've brought this up to the boil, I need to get that down to a simmer. In effect, this is like a stock cube. It's made out of beef dripping, flour, a few herbs and spices, and that's pretty much it. So your German soldier would carry some of this around with him. It's traditionally made with pea flour, but I didn't have any. And this is relatively shelf stable. So all you do is chop a piece off, throw it into your mix. I'm not sure if I'm using enough or not. Let's put the crumbs in there as well. It's the first time I've tried this, so I'm not quite sure if I've got enough or not. It's a case of trial and error. Stir this in. This is actually held up better than what I thought. I thought it would just fall apart, but it does take a little bit of work. I've quite enjoyed using this cutting board today. He's a good bit of fun. That seems to be simmering away nicely. I've thoroughly enjoyed exploring this new bit of coastline I've not been to before. I'm in the shadow of the Black Nord lighthouse. Brought my flask out again today, so by the time I've had my cup of tea, lunch should be ready. I thoroughly enjoy exploring rugged and rocky coastlines. There's always interesting things to see. Everywhere you turn, there's an interesting item, an interesting find. Erbswurst. The idea behind it was that the German soldiers of the time, back in the 1870s, they had more camp kitchens where they'd all gather up with their mess tins, which I've got one at home. I was going to bring it out, but I didn't in the end. I went for the BCB. It's a main can and it's got two kidney shaped lids on top, and when you take the top off, the second one goes onto it. So you've got, in effect, you've got two serving trays you can carry around by the handle, and then you've got your main pot as well. So that was the idea, was the Germans went around to field kitchens and they filled up their pots and pans and had lunch together. But when they was on the road, so to speak, they carried their little mess tin around, and they didn't really have one-man rations at all. So they carried around Erbswurst, which is like a thickener, like a Knorr cube or an Oxo cube or whatever. And they mixed that with any vegetables they could find on the way, any meats they could find on the way, and that gave them a hearty stew. I thought the beef dripping in the flour would make it such that when it warmed up a bit it started to melt, but it's still really crumbly. It's about 12 Celsius today and the sun's out. It's been shining on my little sausage, and I expected it to maybe start melting a bit or start going soft, but it hasn't. It stayed together. It's crumbly, so the flour mixed in with the fat seems to make it quite a good travel food. How it would perform in much warmer weather, I don't know, but I'm going to try that later in the summer. It's been bubbling away for a while, so I think we'll call that done. I've got a nice thick stew. I can feel he's burnt on the bottom a bit. It's not the end of the world. When I started out on this little food experiment, I had no idea how it was going to work out. But it's turned out absolutely wonderful. I could have possibly put a little bit more water in there, or a bit less of the mix. Let's try a bit. I even used the wrong flour with this and it still worked out well. All in all, that's quite impressive. I know the trend now is to take out freeze-dried meals and pre-prepared meals, and they're very expensive. But if you're just going out for, say, a day hike or an overnighter, I think this Erbswurst idea could really work. I know freeze-dried meals are very convenient, they save weight, but they're also very expensive. So I've taken a little bit of that mix out, a sausage, a carrot, a potato, and I've got a really hearty meal for next to no cost at all. What's your thoughts on this? Would you rather go for a freeze-dried meal or make up your own Erbswurst, take it out with a few vegetables, add some water and make a nice hearty meal on the go? The traditional way to make Erbswurst is to fry off your bacon or your sausage, render that down, then throw in all your herbs and spices, your fat and your flour to make the Erbswurst sausage. I've done my own thing with this and it's worked out just fine. So it seems to be a very forgiving way of making a shelf-stable food. If you want to know how to make Erbswurst, I'm going to leave a link in the description of the video that I saw of the chap who actually made it for himself, and I use that as a rough guideline to make my own, so that may be quite useful to you. So as an overall score for my first attempt, I'd give this an 8 out of 10. The whole thing worked out extremely well. Next time I do this, I'll use pea flour. I've ordered some dried peas, and what I'm going to do is grind them up. I'll also put a few more herbs and spices in there. I think you need to really pack it out with the flavours. But apart from that, for a first attempt, I thought it was a brilliant effort. The pan's a bit messy, but a good soak will sort that out. Hope you've enjoyed this little adventure. If you have, don't forget to put a like and maybe even subscribe. See you next time.